The X Factor, how women are revolutionizing leadership and why it matters. Welcome to the BlackCEO Podcast, where we explore the cutting edge of leadership and business innovation. Today, we're diving into a topic that's not just changing the game, it's rewriting the rules entirely. We're talking about the revolutionary impact of women in leadership. And trust me, what you're about to hear will challenge everything you thought you knew about power, success, and the future of business. But before we jump in, I want to give a special shout out to the incredible Teresa Hailey, a visionary leader who's been setting the business world on fire with her groundbreaking insights and unwavering commitment to empowering women in leadership roles. Teresa's work isn't just inspiring, it's transforming the very DNA of corporate America. Her passion, her wisdom, and her relentless drive to create a more equitable business landscape have touched countless lives and organizations. Teresa, if you're listening, know that your impact reaches far beyond boardrooms and balance sheets. You're changing the world, one empowered leader at a time. Now, let's dive into the heart of what Teresa shared with me. Because buckle up, folks. This is going to be one hell of a ride. Imagine for a moment a world where we finally unleash the full potential of women in leadership. I'm not talking about some far off utopia or a feel good fantasy. I'm talking about right here, right now in the trenches of corporate America and beyond. Because here's the kicker, folks. That world isn't just possible. It's already happening, and it's happening faster than you might think. Let's start with a truth bomb that'll knock your socks off. Women are the leaders of tomorrow. Now, I know what you're thinking. Tomorrow, why not today? And you're absolutely right to ask that question. But here's where it gets interesting. It's not just about tomorrow. It's about right now, this very moment, where not a single company in the United States can function at its peak without the power and influence of women. Let that sink in for a moment. It's not just a feel-good statement or a politically correct soundbite. It's a cold, hard fact backed by numbers that'll make your head spin. As of 2024, women hold 10.4% of leadership positions at Fortune 500 companies. Now, I can almost hear you thinking, okay, 10.4%, that doesn't sound like much. But hold on to your hats, because that seemingly small percentage represents a record-breaking 52 female CEOs leading businesses on that prestigious list. But wait, there's more. And this is where it gets really juicy. Companies with female executives are 30% more likely to outperform their competitors. 30%. That's not a rounding error, folks. That's not a statistical blip. That's a game changer of epic proportions. It's like having a secret weapon that a third of companies are just leaving on the table. Now, let's zoom out and look at the global picture, because this isn't just an American phenomenon. The percentage of women in CEO and managing director roles worldwide is on a steady climb. We're seeing giants like General Motors and Mondelez International putting women at the helm. And guess what? They're not just surviving, they're thriving. But here's where the rubber really meets the road. I want to share with you 3 stories that Teresa and I discussed, because they illustrate just how profound this shift is and why it matters to every single one of us, regardless of gender. First up, let's talk about the rise of female CEOs in Fortune 500 companies. This isn't just about breaking glass ceilings. It's about shattering expectations and redefining what leadership looks like in the 21st century. Picture this: a boardroom filled with the usual suspects, gray suits, power ties, and an overwhelming sense of we've always done it this way. Now, imagine a woman walking into that room, not as a secretary or an assistant, but as the CEO. The energy shifts, the air crackles with possibility, and suddenly those old ways of doing things don't seem so set in stone anymore. That's exactly what's happening in Fortune 500 companies across the country. Despite facing significant barriers, including persistent gender bias and stereotyping that would make your grandmother blush, women aren't just making it to the top, they're excelling there. Companies that have embraced robust diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are seeing an average of 35% women leaders compared to a measly 25% in companies that are dragging their feet on DEI initiatives. It's like watching a real-time experiment in human potential. And guess what? The results are in, and they're spectacular. But here's the real kicker. Companies with female CEOs and CFOs are yielding better results than the market average. We're not talking about marginal gains here. We're talking about substantial, measurable success that's changing the game for everyone involved. Now, let's look at our second story, the performance of companies with female executives. This is where things get really interesting, folks. These companies aren't just doing well, they're outperforming their peers by a margin that'll make your jaw drop. We're talking about a 30% higher likelihood of success. That's not a typo, 30%. It's like these companies found a cheat code for business success. And that cheat code is diversity in leadership, but it's not all smooth sailing. Despite these incredible results, many companies are still lagging behind. In the healthcare sector, for example, women hold only 25% of senior leadership positions. It's a stark reminder that we still have work to do. But here's the silver lining. Companies that are implementing robust DEI programs, promoting flexible working options, and fostering an open and honest culture are seeing remarkable results. They're not just retaining women in leadership roles, they are thriving because of it. The impact goes beyond just the bottom line. These companies are driving innovation, challenging traditional gender roles, and reshaping entire industries. They're not just changing their own organizations, they're changing the world, one boardroom decision at a time. Our third story looks at the global trend towards women in leadership. And let me tell you, it's a trend that's picking up steam faster than a bullet train on espresso. As of 2021, 26% of CEO and managing director roles globally were held by women. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but consider this. It's a number that's growing year over year, and it's having a ripple effect across industries and continents. Large companies are taking notice and taking action. They're not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk by appointing female CEOs and setting a precedent for others to follow. And the results? Better stock price performance, increased innovation, and sustainable growth that's turning heads in boardrooms around the world. But here's where it gets really interesting. Women now occupy 46% of entry-level positions in these companies. That's nearly half. And this is a big but, that number drops to 25% at the C-suite level. It's a stark reminder of the challenge that still lie ahead, but it's also an incredible opportunity. We're looking at a pipeline of talent that's just waiting to be tapped, a reservoir of potential that could revolutionize the way we do business. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Well, this all sounds great, but what does it mean for me? What can I do with this information? I'm glad you asked, because that's exactly what Teresa and I discussed, and it's the heart of why this matters so much. First and foremost, we need to recognize the value of women in leadership positions. This isn't just about fairness or equality, although those are critically important. This is about unleashing the full potential of our businesses, our economy, and our society. We're talking about tapping into a wellspring of talent, creativity, and innovation that has been underutilized for far too long. But recognition isn't enough. We need action. And that action starts with creating more inclusive and diverse workplaces. This means implementing robust DI programs that go beyond lip service. It means promoting flexible working options that allow all employees to thrive, regardless of their personal circumstances. It means fostering an open and honest culture where all voices are heard and valued. And here's the thing, this isn't just about women. This is about creating a workplace that brings out the best in everyone. Because when we create an environment where women can succeed, we create an environment where everyone can succeed. It's not a zero-sum game. It's a rising tide that lifts all boats. But let me be clear, this isn't going to be easy. Change never is. We're up against centuries of ingrained biases and systemic barriers. But the evidence is clear. When we overcome these obstacles, when we embrace the power of diverse leadership, we all win. Companies win. Employees win. Shareholders win. Society wins. So what's the takeaway here? What do I want you to remember long after this talk ends? It's simple. The future of leadership is female, and that future is now. We're not talking about some distant utopia. We're talking about a transformation that's happening right before our eyes. And we all have a role to play in accelerating this change. If you're a business leader, take a hard look at your organization. Are you tapping into the full potential of your female employees? Are you creating an environment where they can thrive and advance? If not, you're leaving money on the table and talent untapped. If you're an employee, regardless of your gender, be an ally, support and amplify the voices of your female colleagues, challenge biases when you see them, especially if they're your own. And if you're a woman aspiring to leadership, know this. The path may not be easy, but it's there. And it's getting wider every day. Your voice matters. Your leadership matters. The world needs what you have to offer. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with a challenge. Take a moment to reflect on your own biases and assumptions about leadership. Are you still holding on to outdated notions of what a leader looks like or how they behave? Are you overlooking potential in yourself or others because it doesn't fit a traditional mold? Now, imagine a world where we've fully embraced the power of diverse leadership. Imagine the innovations we could create, the problems we could solve, the future we could build. That world is within our grasp, but only if we're willing to reach for it. Teresa Hailey's insights have shown us that the rise of women in leadership isn't just a trend, it's a transformation. It's a reimagining of what's possible when we tap into the full potential of all our talent. And it's happening right now in real time, reshaping industries and redefining success. So, here's my call to action for you. What will you do starting today to be part of this transformation? How will you contribute to creating a world where leadership knows no gender, where potential is limited only by imagination, not by outdated stereotypes? Will you mentor a young woman in your organization? Will you speak up in meetings when you see bias at play? Will you push for more inclusive hiring practices in your company? Or will you take that leap and apply for that leadership position you've been eyeing? The future is calling, and it's asking for all of us, men and women alike, to step up, to challenge our assumptions, and to embrace a new era of leadership. An era where diversity isn't just a buzzword, but a fundamental driver of success. An era where the power of women in leadership isn't the exception, but the norm. Remember, the leaders of tomorrow are already here. They're in your companies, your communities, maybe even in your mirror. It's up to all of us to recognize, support, and amplify their voices. Because when we do, we're not just changing businesses, we're changing the world. The power is in your hands. What will you do with it? Will you be a bystander in this revolution, or will you be a catalyst for change? The choice is yours, and the time is now. So I challenge you, be bold, be brave, be the change you want to see in the world of leadership. Because when women lead, we all win. And that's not just good for business, it's good for humanity. Thank you.